Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Thiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Television and Tonight Radio and podcast talk show. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning 2 p.m. on the Eastern time zones. I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. Continue watching on television. That's Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. You can also find us on the radio, the biggest country station in South Carolina, WZLA 92.9 FM on the dial. Thank you for checking them out and appreciate you doing that as well. Continue sending email. It means a lot. Donna@donnasedge.com, Donna@donnasedge.com. You can ask Phil. Every time I get an email from you, I just get giggly all inside. Thank you so much for doing that. And I've got Chuck and Mary Lynn Bailey with me right now. They're with Alabama Fair Tax. We've had quite a few questions because it's election season right now. And so, and this is in particular to Alabama politics. So folks want to know who is actually for fair tax, or if you know that yet.
Yes, we've, hi Donna, good to see you again. We started a pledge drive this year to start, nailing these guys down. And we've got on our Facebook page, we had one of the guys put one of those give me some money mailings that they get from their politicians, and he wrote across there, when you sign the pledge for the fair tax, I will send you money. So we're doing those sorts of things to get people to start understanding what's going on as far as the fair tax is concerned. We're getting trickles of folks that are signing the pledge, and we've gotten Barry Moore has signed. He's running for Senate in the state of Alabama to replace Tommy Tuberville when he leaves, and he signed a pledge saying he would support and promote and vote for the fair tax as a senator. So he'll be the first senator that signed the pledge, and so we're going to be working on him to actually carry the bill if we can get him to do that. So. And it's been in the Senate before, but Jerry Moran from Kansas was the last sponsor, and he stopped sponsoring it for some reason. So we need to get another sponsor in the House. The bill will be exactly the same, except for the preamble at the beginning saying the Senate hereby introduces this bill, and the other one says the House hereby introduces this bill. So. Otherwise, the meat and bread in that thing is exactly the same. So that's where we are at present with Bill.
It needs to be passed in the House first, though. Yeah. So we have been concentrating on the House, actually, we have had a fair response from the senators that we've spoken to, but we really would like to get, work on that too. So, and it looks like with the way the Senate is so not working anymore, that there are a lot of people leaving the Senate this election season, leaving to go home and run for governor. So there will be new people.
Or other things.
Yeah. But the one thing that the public can do is every time they see one of these people running for whatever position they're running for, ask them about the fair tax. We had early on when we first started working here in District 5 of Alabama, we had everybody knew about the fair tax, and we had people running for city council when they would go out knocking door to door. And people would say, are you for the fair tax? They could do nothing about it, but they were
Except vote for
except
for a guy that would vote for it in the House or Senate.
yeah. So it's just ask every time you have a chance, and mention it to your friends, and certainly email your politicians. Let them know. It doesn't matter where they are. They don't have to be in the House or the Senate, or they just need to be an elected official, because they tend to climb a ladder and
talk to each other too.
Yeah, and they do talk to each other. Yes.
Well, let me ask you, I know you said House, but of all the folks, and you got a long list of folks running for governor in the state of Alabama too,
Yeah.
who are the most likely to appreciate fair tax of the folks who are running?
Well, we know that Barry has signed for governor, Tommy Tuberville has stated that in one article that I read that he is for something, a system like the fair tax. He said, we've got to get rid of the IRS. We got to get rid of that income tax. Mm-hmm. And I'm tending toward that fair tax thing, and so he's at least leaning toward it. And he's also made the statement that he wants to get rid of property taxes. So that's going to be a big deal in the state of Alabama for getting rid of the property tax.
We want to include the property tax in our bill, in our fair tax bill. And because that's a big thing, especially for people on fixed incomes. And if they could pay their property tax when they purchase whatever it is that they purchased, it's a lot easier to handle. And again, it collects the same amount of money. So,
for the folks in Alabama, there's a good article in the 1819 News. It was written by James Kring, and it was 21st of January's issue. Mm-hmm. And he's got an article on property tax, and essentially he covers the reasons why you shouldn't have a property tax, and also the moral part of it too. It said property rights and property taxes cannot coexist. You can't be a property owner if you have to pay the government tax every year, because if you don't pay that tax, you're going to end up in jail, or you're going to lose your house or whatever. So it's really immoral tax, as is the income tax.
The property tax is a rent that you pay to the state to be able to live in your home. If you don't pay your rent, you can be evicted. Right. So that is immoral.
I like the way he puts it. So you cannot claim to own your land while the state holds the lien year by year. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah,
property taxes need to go
and one of the
too.
reasons it's becoming such an issue, Alabama's property taxes traditionally have been fairly low compared to other states. But what's happened with the states that are eliminating the income tax, Tennessee, Texas, Florida, and so on, their property taxes are high. Now, Florida is an exception because it has a lot of a lot of people,
snowbirds and people
visiting tourists. So they collect a lot of their taxes through tourists. But in Texas, I have a brother and a sister that live in Texas, and my sister has told me about people that she knows who have had to mortgage their homes in order to pay their taxes.
Crazy.
So, and I'm sure I don't know anything for sure about California, but I'm pretty sure that even with the income tax, they're still paying high property taxes. And again, it's immoral. It really is. That's something you need. I really wonder if part of the homeless situation out there, in particular in big cities, is not a function of property taxes.
Mm-hmm. Could be. So I wanted to ask you another question. Actually, this is a Loretta Thompson question. And this is about homeowners association fees. And she lives in North Carolina. And I've lived in North Carolina. And almost if you live in any kind of a subdivision or whatsoever, they're going to have these homeowners association fees. Now, we lived in one, it wasn't that high, but the problem was nothing stopped them from going up every year. And they would do that. So we did have a neighbor who lost their home. They paid their mortgage on time. They paid their house taxes, but they were fed up with the homeowners association, didn't pay it, and lost their home.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
too much power. So how did these folks get this much power from homeowners association fees? It's nuts.
You sign the contract.
Yeah. That's
You're done.
yeah, that
when you
is
sign the contract, you're done.
yeah, that is a choice. If you choose to accept the fact that when you buy that particular home that you have to sign that, pay the homeowners fees, that's a choice. You could choose to go somewhere else.
Well, but we live out in the country, so, and I did tell the realtor before we moved up here, I said, I will not live in a place where we've got to pay homeowners association. The home taxes are enough.
I have to say that there are things about homeowners associations that I can agree with. And one of them is that if you live in a nice community and someone wants to put a trailer or park their semi out in front, and that happens, So that would be, a reason for that sort of thing. But the homeowners associations can become fiefdoms, and you have the people who are in charge, perennially in charge, that feel very powerful. And
so we lived in a cul-de-sac when we were living in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was a nice area. And so a lot of it was, I think it was like 7 houses on this cul-de-sac. It was so funny. Polly across the street would call and say, that little girl who's probably never owned a house before in her life from the homeowners association is walking around with her clipboard. Just thought I'd warn you. And it's like she would just look for things. I mean, just look to send you messages on. I just think they have way too much power. Now, when we were looking for the house here in South Carolina, the realtor said, we don't have that much. She said, it's mainly in North Carolina where you're seeing that. She said, there's a few areas here, but she said, even the affluent areas don't have homeowners associations.
Yeah.
Well, we actually live in a HOA area, but when we got here and bought our house from the people who owned it, we didn't sign anything with an HOA.
It wasn't part of the contract for us. So, yeah. But, again, I think there are reasons for HOAs if you can limit them. But when you get a wannabe dictator in charge of it, and don't you have to vote for those people?
Yeah.
So
they have organizations in there.
Yeah, so I would think that if you have that kind of thing going on, vote again.
Well, we had one who I don't think she was actually voted in. She was a princess, and her daddy owned like a whole lot of buildings, corporate buildings, and rented them out in Charlotte downtown. So she was a princess, and so we all had to put up with her. So that you could not have. Now you could have flowers in your front yard, but you couldn't have any kind of vegetables or anything. It had to be hidden. So my neighbor next door, who would furnish me with tomatoes a lot, she said, do you know that little princess? We call her little princess. She said, do you know the little princess came by and wrote me up for the tomatoes? And I said, you got them hidden in the back. She said she saw a tomato peeking out. And I ate it myself. Silly little things, though, just silly. And it gives people power to have a clipboard walking around writing people up.
The thing that got me on those was the guy they were trying to kick out of an area because he was flying the American flag.
Oh, come on.
That's enough.
Yeah, that's enough. That's way enough. So but that's one of the requirements when we moved here. I said, I don't even want to look at a house if they have homeowners association fees. So anyway, we got our 8.2 acres here out in the country, so we're happy, very happy. We've got to go into a commercial break, and then we'll be right back in just a few minutes. More about our tax. Queen City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices. We offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community. Whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need, toys at Christmas, or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Donna's Designs offers a line of handmade memorial, wedding, and keepsake jewelry that launched back in 1970. I'm a self-trained jewelry designer, and I will work closely with you to create unique designs you can love and treasure for years to come. Whether that be flowers that were used in a funeral arrangement or stones you found on the beach at a memorable trip, call me at 256-659-4319, and let's think of the possibilities. Good afternoon. We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Television, radio, and podcast talk show. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 2 p.m. I enjoy spending time with you. So, again, thank you so much for the confidence you spent in watching the show. We definitely appreciate that. And to all of our sponsors, thank you. We definitely appreciate that as well. I wanted to mention Bobby Ledbetter with Twin City Used Car Sales. He's located in Gadsden, Alabama. He decided to stay with us with our other Alabama sponsors. And I just wanted to mention, Bobby has been with me for about 14 years now. And so if you are looking for a used car and you live up north, he's worth the drive. And I want to tell you why. When you guys get that pretty fluffy snow and you're up north, you know what they're doing? They're putting like salt and stuff on the roads. And you know what that does to the undercarriage of your car? That's why it's hard on you guys to sell used cars. But if you come to the South, Bobby Ledbetter, he gets those cars from the South. So if you're looking for a good used car, it's worth the drive, definitely. BobbyLedbetter.com, BobbyLedbetter.com. Real easy to get to, real friendly guy. If you'll send him an email and let him know the kind of vehicles you're looking for before you come back and visit in Alabama, he'll make sure he's got some of those cars lined up for you to test drive. But again, thank you, Bobby, so much for your business. Definitely appreciate that. I've got Chuck and Mary Lynn Bailey with me right now. They're with Alabama Fair Tax. And we've been talking about the goings on and all the things that are associated with fair tax. I was sold the first time the first meeting I went to, and Ann Eubank said, you got to go see these people. Mm-hmm. You know how Ann is. So, because Ann will not push anything unless she believes in it. And so when she said, you got to go see them, I said, well, I guess I do. I said, Ann, I got like 10,000 things going on right now. And she said, it's worth it. They're going to be in Fort Payne, Alabama. You got to go see them. So I did. And then after the meeting, she said, well, I said, I'm for it. I went in with my arms crossed. I did. I always do. But I came out like, I'm a cheerleader for this. I want these folks on my show all the time. And that's been how many years ago?
Well, it's been a while.
I think it was about 2014, 2015.
Something like that. So it's been a while. But anyway, I appreciate you guys and all you stand for and pushing the American way. And another thing I don't say enough, Chuck, is thank you for your service. I appreciate that. Sure. Absolutely. From the bottom of my heart, Phil and I definitely appreciate that. Let's talk a little bit more about businesses and how a business, I could see us, and we're doing good now. We're doing okay. But what I'm saying is, if I didn't have the IRS breathing over my shoulder all the time, that would kind of open up more time for me to spend in my business.
Right.
What do other people say?
Yeah. People don't realize the amount of time they spend in the business, and maybe they do, but it's kind of like when you get your paycheck and that 10% or whatever is missing, and you kind of don't miss it because you're used to it.
Yeah,
I think it's the same kind of thing. If you go back and look, you'll say, "My gosh, look at all the time I spent on that." And if you take that and multiply that times the dollars per hour you make, comes up to some pretty good sized bucks.
It does.
There was something like 7.9 billion hours spent doing income tax one year recently. So it's outrageous because all that time is wasted. And there's no positive production out of that. It's just wasted, and it ends up costing you more in income tax.
Well, I mean, you got 10 pieces of paper that virtually say the same thing. It's just in different areas on that piece of paper. Mm-hmm. And you still got to do it. I mean, you still got to do it and send it in. Yeah,
it is easier for it. I'll tell you the one thing you mentioned your experience with the fair tax. That's typical of small business owners because they know how much they sell each month, and they know how much tax they have to collect, and they collect the tax. They don't pay the tax.
They accumulate
the tax and then pay it to the state. And that actually brings up something else too. The state actually collects the tax and then sends it to the federal. Okay, the federal. I'm mixing up the two because we have a state fair tax that we are promoting here in Alabama, but there's also the national fair tax that is collected at retail, and then it is collected and sent to the state. The state collects that and then sends it to the federal government. I would think that would reinstate the 10th Amendment, the states' rights, because I think of two things in particular. One of them is East Palestine, Palestine, I think is how it's pronounced. When FEMA decided that wasn't a FEMA area, they didn't have to. The money would not be spent there to mitigate the problem. Well, so the state had to pay for it. Well, if the state is collecting the federal taxes, they could just take that amount of money and say, okay, we had to spend this on our problem. And the other case was in North Carolina after the hurricane. When both hurricanes hit, the FEMA. Well, I think they did give some help, but it wasn't much. Because I don't know how they determine what a.
Well, if it hadn't been for the churches going up there, these people would really be in rough shape.
And even then, I think FEMA took credit for what happened and that actually happened here.
The Cowboy Church told me about that. The Cowboy Church.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we were, we had the tornado back. It was 2011. Here it was devastating to North Alabama, and we were actually without electricity for over a week. And the local people got communications going, and we're starting to get things set up. And then FEMA came in. They're always like 2 or 3, up to a week late. They don't come right away. They came in, and then it took control of that, and then it took credit for it too. So I'm not a big fan of FEMA. I like the way we used to have it with civil defense. It was localized, but again, that I would think that would be a means of reclaiming states' rights.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because now the way the whole thing is set up, I know the Cowboy Church. So, I mean, it took them like no time. I mean, they were having the folks in the congregation were bringing water and, all kinds of non-perishable foods and those kinds of things. And before you knew it, and the Gadsden Mall did the same thing. And so I got a call from the Gadsden Mall, and Kaylee said, Donna, we've collected, and we've collected more than we thought we were going to collect. And she said, I can't get it to North Carolina. And she said, do you think the Cowboy Church can help? And I said, let me see. So I called Philip with Gillen with Cowboy Church, and he said, yep. He said, I'll have Wormy come out there. Wormy pastors a church in Henniger. And he said, I'll have Wormy come. He's got access to the big rigs. And he said, we'll get Wormy. And then Wormy came out there, and he got the food and took in everything, and toothbrushes, just whatever. They had all kinds of stuff. It took that whole thing up there to North Carolina, to Asheville. So way before FEMA could even think about it. So it was just people doing their job, doing what they wanted to do to help other folks in other states, and just got on it and made it happen.
You're gonna have better service when it's done locally.
Well, that and the federal government, they have to handle every dollar. So but they have to take their cut of every dollar. I know with the fires out in California, there was a group that they raised $100 million to help the people who were injured or lost their homes in the East Palisades fire. They gave that money to the NGOs, NGOs.
Well, they gave it to an NGO who gave it to a bunch of other NGOs.
They gave it to an NGO to distribute that money. Well, that NGO distributed that money to other NGOs, and by the time it was all done, there was no money left to give to the people.
There've been 10 houses rebuilt out there since that burnt down.
Right. So the federal government is not efficient, and it's the same thing with the income tax. With the fair tax, at least. You're not paying all these little bureaucracies to handle your money before it is used.
Less than a minute left in this segment. How can folks find more information? And how can they get in contact with you if you want to speak, if they want you to speak to their group?
Yeah, they can just go to fairtax.org for the national national fair tax. Mm-hmm. And for us, there's a alfairtax.org that they can go to and get information on us.
Yeah, we're always ready to talk to people. So, and in fact, if anyone knows Tommy Tuberville, we've been trying to get in touch with him.
We're going to get in touch with him.
Yeah, we had people who have said they would get us in contact with him, but so far it hasn't happened. So, if you know him, let him know. We're out here.
Well, Tommy Tuberville, you really need to answer that call. Okay,
yes,
you really do. All right, guys, thank you so much for being on the show with me. It's always a pleasure, always an honor, because I know you guys are busy out on the road all the time too. But thank you again so much for being with me, and thank you guys so much for watching the show. Definitely appreciate that, and I want to thank all of our sponsors as well. Been doing this for over 20 years now. It's 20 and a half years now. Mm-hmm. It actually began on April 1st. Can you believe that? April 1st. Well, what happened there is I was on the television station, was a good friend of mine, did a lot of business with him when I was with GTE. And I said, well, when do you want to start it? And he said, let's do April 1. And I said, April Fool's Day? He said, you can't even remember your wedding anniversary. He said, this will be one day you will always remember. And Tom's right. So I really remember that day. And I do remember my wedding anniversary. April 4th. Not April. Feels right there. September the 4th, 1993. Got me out of that one. Thanks for watching. We definitely appreciate it.